Hello everyone and welcome to Capitol Watch for Friday, May 11th, our weekly look at legislative news from Jefferson City. And joining us from our governmental relations offices in Jeff City is our Associate Executive Director for Advocacy and Chief Lobbyist, Mike Reed. And Mike, after a week of wrangling over various issues, we finally have a state budget. So tell us about that.
We do have a state budget, and I would have to tell you, last Friday when we talked and earlier in the week, I didn't think they'd make it, but cooler heads prevailed. There were compromises all around, and we do have a state budget. We're held flat. Now, in a time where budgets are reducing the amount of money that is going to various other state agencies, the fact that we were held flat, well, actually we got $5 million and $1 increase in the foundation formula. But that's good for us. We really appreciate the work that the Budget Committee did both in the House and the Senate. And as I said, we get criticized sometimes for saying we appreciate staying flat, but there were a lot of cuts that were made in the budget all the way around in various state agencies. And so we have that funding that is flat, so districts can now figure how they shall go for the next fiscal year.
And one provision that was included, Mike, dealt with preschool programs in our state, and the issue was rating preschool programs as far as their quality. And what happened there?
Well, that's right. That issue has been around for some period of time, quality rating system to rate preschools. One senator is very adamant against that, and so there was a prohibition on having any sort of quality rating for any sort of preschools in the state of Missouri. Part of that, the reason to have that was for some federal money that was trying to come into the state. We didn't get the federal money, but so there will be no quality rating for preschools in Missouri.
Of course, now, Mike, the budget goes to the governor. Do you see any issues there in the governor's office as far as the education funding in the budget?
Well, I certainly hope not. I don't see it right now. The governor, of course, has to look at the amount of money that is coming in, and this budget comes in below his recommended levels. So I'm hoping that the governor can sign this and we can move on with this and we'll not have to have withholdings later on next year. We're very cautiously optimistic that this will be fine.
Another issue, Mike, that is still alive in the General Assembly as we head into the final week deals with charter schools expansion. And where are we on that?
Well, that should be debated early next week. The Senate bill is in the House. It came out of House rules and is on the calendar. And I anticipate that it will be debated on Monday, Tuesday at the absolute latest. In discussion with the sponsor in the House, he is trying to keep it as a clean piece of legislation, that no amendments on it. And I think they'll probably do a good job of keeping it that way. So I expect a charter bill to be passed next week. Again, this bill allows for charter school expansion, but it also has a lot more accountability standards in the charter school. And expansion is under the local elected school board.
Another issue we've been following this session, Mike, has to do with the unaccredited school districts and the State Board of Education's ability to intervene in those districts. Where do we stand on that issue now?
Well, that issue is a little tougher. The House bill that passed is still sitting in the Senate and has not moved. The Senate bill was over in the House for hearing this week. It was loaded up with a lot of amendments, most of which did not deal with the question at hand of accreditation and what happens with unaccredited districts and giving DESE the authority to move in much quicker. I really believe that that Senate bill that came out of the House committee will probably go nowhere. I talked to the Senate sponsor. He is not happy with the amendments that were placed on the bill. So there's some real questions on whether either one of those bills are going to get moving next week.
Another issue, Mike, that's pending out there has to do with teachers and teacher layoffs in particular. Where does that stand?
Yes, that bill passed the House. It deals with teacher layoffs and what happens when school districts must downsize because of financial problems. It passed the House and it's gone to a hearing in the Senate. That's House Bill 1526. There'll be a hearing on Monday in House General Laws and tweaking that language. In essence, right now it deals with what people call last in, first out. And it will be discussed. It probably will come out of the Senate committee on Monday, but its future is very questionable because there's only a week left. And at this time of year, a week is not a very long time.
Mike, an issue that we haven't really discussed a lot during the session, but one that is now going to go before voters in November, has to do with the Missouri Nonpartisan Court Plan. Tell us about that and why it's important to our members.
Well, we've had a resolution on supporting the Nonpartisan Court Plan at MSBA for the last 5 years, and it's extremely important that judges understand the law and make sure that they make decisions dealing specifically on the law. School districts get sued often, and we cannot afford to get into a match where people are paying a lot of money to get judges elected. And so the Nonpartisan Court Plan has worked very well. The plan that passed the House this week and now goes before the voters probably in November gives the governor 4 choices on the nominating committee, and there are 3 lawyer elected people on the other side or also on that committee. So it actually gives the governor a chance to pick the slate of that he will get to choose from. So it pushes a lot of politics into the court plan, and it's something that I urge all of our members to read and become very familiar with prior to the election.
Mike, we have 1 week left in this legislative session, and we all know that a lot can happen in that final week. Give us a preview.
Well, it's going to be a hot and heavy week because there will be lots of bills passing back and forth. There's a conference committee bill that came out yesterday where the sponsor of the bill told me that he was going to take out some provisions that we didn't like, and he didn't do it. So we went back to him, and he just, quote, forgot about it. And so we're going to get those provisions taken out. So we have to be very careful because people slip a lot of things in during this last week. The session ends next Friday at 6 o'clock, and it will end at 6 o'clock, but there's going to be a lot of activity. Please watch your email because we may need you to call your state representative and state senator and tell him how their actions are affecting children in your district, and it comes very quickly at this time of year. So we appreciate all the help and support that our members give us in informing their elected officials about pieces of legislation.
All right, Mike Reed, thanks a lot for being with us. And as Mike mentioned, the legislative session ends on Friday, May 18th. We will not have a Legislative Voice newsletter or a Capitol Watch program on Friday, but we will have Legislative Voice and Capitol Watch the following week, wrapping up the legislative session, what did and did not pass. And we hope you'll join us for the final edition of MSBA's Capitol Watch.